How do you match this all back to results? So you said it impacts sales, that it impacts viewership, so I'm assuming you match it back to ratings. How does that work?
Well, on the brand side, what we did is we validated emotional attachment with barcode scanning data. So what we actually did was look at purchase behavior over a 12-month period of time for a variety of brands and correlated that directly with emotional attachment. Someone who's attached to a brand actually spends almost 50% more on that brand in a 12-month period of time. They're also 2.5 times more likely to pay attention to an ad for that brand that they're attached to, and they are the social advocate for that brand. They're 43% more likely to talk about that brand favorably through their social channels. On the media side, the way we proved that emotional attachment was predictive of media behavior is we correlated predicted Nielsen ratings. We actually go out and predict the rating and the rank order of television shows using people's emotional attachment. You can imagine if you're highly attached to a brand, you are significantly more likely to pull that to you. You're going to view it more often. You're going to view that 40% more intently, because you're going to follow it. You're almost 50%, over 50% more likely to follow that through platform, DVR or on demand, which actually is what a rating is made of, right? Ratings are made of the frequency in which somebody's willing to watch something, the intensity they're willing to watch it, and now with C3 and C7, the amount that we will DVR and pull that content out of the initial first day airing. And therefore it is highly predictive. We're over 85% accurate in predicting the rating and the rank order of a television show in broadcast using emotional attachment measures.
Have you done any work on cable?
Yeah, we work often with cable networks to help them select what programming they should develop on their slate. So they may have 20 to 30 shows that they are thinking of producing, and we can calculate the value of a new television show with a high degree of accuracy using emotional attachment. So you can imagine if you have 20 different ideas that you're looking at, some of the ideas are significantly more valuable. In other words, they will seed a larger audience. They will seed a valuable audience who's, by the way, also attached to specific brands. So we actually quantify the value of those. So to answer your question, in our syndicated study, we look at about 200 cable shows across the tentpole shows across the major networks, and we frequently work directly with a network to help them select what they should produce before they produce it all the way back in the concept stage.
Let's talk about low involvement categories, perhaps like some packaged goods or foods. How do you impact with your scoring?
Well, I mean, I don't believe that there are really low involvement versus high involvement categories. What's really important is the relative attachment that you have to different brands in a specific category. Because if you're going to buy toothpaste, you're in a toothpaste aisle and you're making a relative judgment of what you're most attached to in that point in time in that space. So I'm highly attached to Crest. I pull Crest off the shelf every single time. Do I know about Colgate and do I know about Aquafresh and all those other brands? Sure, I'm aware of them. But in that split decision, when you're making multitudes of decisions in any given day, your emotional attachment, the brands that you pull to you quickly are the ones that you're really highly attached to. So that you don't have to have, attachment isn't like the way we measure it is not like an ooey gooey, oh, you know, I must have this very high involvement category. Sure, I mean, people are completely attached to their iPhone, and they're attached to that iPhone at a very high level comparatively to their attachment, let's say, to toothpaste. But at the end of the day, when I'm making a decision for my toothpaste, I'm making a relative value decision of that particular toothpaste in the space that I am at that point in time. And that's why emotional attachment, regardless of the category, is predictive of somebody's share of wallet and their share of requirements.
So, let's say a product has a brand essence. Let's say a soup category. Intrinsically, it reminds you of childhood and growing up and more memories. But let's say that particular product goes through a rebranding and it becomes diametrically opposite to your affinity to it. How does the brand essence, when it transitions, how does that impact your brand affinity as a consumer?
Well, I think it's rare for a brand to diametrically reposition itself. Brands do reposition themselves to be more contemporary or more in line with the times. But the core essence of the brand tends to be the driving factor. You don't walk away from your core franchise. So as the brand modifies itself, we typically work with marketers to help them reposition. So what we do is we look at the data we look at individuals who are highly attached to the brand and moderately attached to the brand and not attached to the brand, and also attached to competitive brands, right? And then we want to understand the why behind the buy. What are the core drivers of the attachment amongst those who are highly attached? What are the core values in the attachment of those who are moderately attached? And we look for a way to bring those together so that the brand can continue to succeed against its most loyal brand loyalists, because we all know the 80-20 rule is real and alive. But then, of course, we want to drive in new consumers. So we need to understand the gap between the values that are not being seen or met for that brand amongst people who are slightly less loyal to the brand, because that's really the next in strategic target that you can drive volume through. So, you're not going to see a brand go from, Starbucks is not going to become, light, flimsy coffee tomorrow. It's going to stand for what it stands for. It has a very social aspect to it, and it has built a brand essence around that. And it's doubtful, even when they introduced the instant coffees, that people could say, oh, that was diametrically opposed to the brand, but it wasn't. It was just a extension of that brand essence and the ability to share that coffee and that experience in a different space, in a different venue, in your home. And it wasn't really about re-altering the brand. It was about expanding it and making it relevant in more parts of your life.